How you doing?
Oh man, big night, but doing good.
Me too. You hurting a little bit?
No, but I should be. I think it's going to catch up with me.
Oh no. What were you doing?
Just out in Los Angeles.
What's going on up there?
Oh, just Hemingway spending the night with a friend and me going out with her dad.
That's a big long drive home too. That sucks.
I mean, that's okay. I'm used to it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, you know what'll make you feel better?
Ooh, listener calls.
athleticgreens.com/surf. The listener calls will also help. But firstly, do give yourself a healthy dose of athleticgreens.com/surf, Chaz. That'll cure whatever ails you.
I can't wait to go in and just suck it down with the vitamin D drops that it comes with when you /surf.
Slash it. Just slash it, surf.
Athletic Greens. The
D3s
are like COVID cures, apparently, too. I mean,
I don't know that that's approved copy from Athletic Greens, but I think that vitamin D is good for you, period. Full stop, right?
Yeah. I hear that it is good for either something with COVID. I don't know, preventing it, something with COVID.
Yeah,
Athletic Greens.
Vitamin D is great, period. And you can get a free year supply of vitamin D when you go to our link, which is athleticgreens.com/surf for all of your health needs.
Do you do your D3, your vitamin D, in every Athletic Greens you do?
Yes. I think I forget sometimes. This morning I didn't do it, but 5 times out of 7 I do it, I would say.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's open up with a listener call.
This is a call in response to the guy who called out Chaz last week, called him out for being lazy. And then he ended with get barreled. Look, brah, how long you been listening to the show? It's get barrel. 1 barrel. Got it? One small barrel of a man, 1 giant cavern for mankind. You.
There you go. You don't even have to defend yourself. People will come in and defend you.
I love that get barrel is absolutely the laziest thing on earth too. It's the epitome of laziness. And there we go.
So that all started with your Instagram post. You would write that on Instagram, and I just thought it was so funny. And now it's actually become a thing over the course of years of using it.
It's get barrel.
Get barrel. All right, Chaz, welcome to the show. September 23rd. We are again on Zoom. Am I ever going to see you in real life again?
Man, I mean, I'm going to say for sure this coming Thursday.
I was thinking about this coming Saturday and Sunday if you want to go to Del Mar Fairgrounds.
That too. Down there on Saturday. Matt Warshaw is going to be there. I'm going to meet Matt Warshaw there.
Did you talk to him?
I did.
Okay. Did you schedule a time?
I did not schedule a time. I just told him I would meet him there sometime after lunch.
Okay. So listeners who want to actually meet you and don't come early in the day, come after lunch.
I'll be there at lunch or after. Yeah. Hemingway has Nutcracker audition or rehearsals all day, I think. So I'll drop her off and then come right on over.
Okay, cool. And then are you going to bring Reports from Hell books to sell in the booth? Okay.
I will.
Sweet.
I'll have Reports from Hells.
So we've got a booth. We're going to be selling t-shirts, stickers, Make Chaz Grit Again hats, and of course, Reports from Hell books. So come on by, grab some merch, shake hands, kiss hands, shake babies.
I'll be there kissing hands and shaking babies.
Any progress since last week on the BG World Tour?
In Gravy, I put Derek on it. I did my work and emailed Derek and told Derek, get a hold of Ben. This is a great idea. And Derek thought it was a good idea and said, I'll get on to Ben. But then it's been silence ever since. Ben Gravy versus the World, though, has taken off, I feel. Like there's been some good memes about it. Like the people want Ben Gravy versus the World.
So I didn't realize last week Ben Gravy's initials are the same as Beach Grit's initials. This is the
Wow.
BG World Tour. It's
I
perfect.
didn't even realize that myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So there you
mean,
go.
So yeah, so I don't know what Ben Gravy's doing. Maybe Ben Gravy is in Illinois, in Chicago, chasing the biggest wave to ever hit, theoretically, Chicago shore. But
I wasn't following that story. What's happening?
Oh, really? 16 to 18 foot waves are forecasted for Chicago today.
Really?
Yeah.
In the lake?
Yep. Lake Michigan.
Crazy.
Just
That's insane.
pumping. Yeah.
Just from a wind or storm, obviously.
Yeah, I think it was like specific weather system where, yeah, it must howl or something for a minute there. And obviously, I'm sure it'll be slop, but I can't imagine Ben Gravy's like, when you hear something like that and you're Ben Gravy, when you hear 16-foot waves in Chicago, like breaking off of Chicago shore, if you're Ben Gravy, aren't you like booking my ticket?
Yeah, of course. You're loading up the Sprinter van is what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, just racing north, because I mean, this is ultimate novelty, I feel.
Totally. Well, this would have been epic for stop number 1 of the BG World Tour. So Ben Gravy, and I think honestly, CJ Hobgood should have been the first opponent. So CJ should be booking a flight to Chicago. Ben will be loading up the Sprinter van. They can meet on Lake Michigan, and then afterwards have, deep dish pizza to celebrate.
It's true, except for there's only, and I'm CJ Hobgood #1 fan, but there's one better for this first stop. Okay. Chicago native Pat O'Connell.
Big ball. Get Big Ball in the mix.
I mean, imagine Pat O'Connell versus Ben Gravy, stop 1. The ex-commissioner of the World Surf League.
Epic. That'd be an epic kickoff. And he can also open some new retail stores for Florence Marine X in the Midwest while he's there.
Precisely. I was trying to, yesterday when I was posting this story about the 16-foot waves to hit Chicago, I was trying to find a picture of Pat O'Connell surfing big waves for the post. I could not find one. I really dug deep on Pat O'Connell big wave in the image. And there was like, has Pat O'Connell ever surfed a wave over head high?
Which is only 5 feet.
Yeah.
No, I'm really scratching the recesses of my mind. So I would love to, first of all, figure out how deep you go in your research. Is this just the first page of Google that you search and that's it, and you give up?
Image search Pat O'Connell big wave, and it was the first page. And there was not one picture of him there surfing a big wave.
Then it doesn't exist. Then he's never done it in his life. If it doesn't exist there,
I mean, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm thinking. I sort of was trying to remember Endless Summer 2. He and Wingnut never surfed any big waves, did they?
No, he surfed Cloudbreak, but it wasn't, it's not big waves.
Sure. Like, I mean, Pat O'Connell has surfed bigger waves, but nothing that would be considered like Evan Slater.
No.
Mavericks Charger, Toto Santos. Like, there's people in Pat O'Connell's wheelhouse who have surfed big waves. Has Pat ever surfed a big wave?
I don't think he's ever, when you say big wave, obviously Waimea, that style wave. No, yes. I bet he's been out at Sunset when it's big, that sort of thing. But I don't know of him ever paddling out into an actual big wave.
Has Pat O'Connell surfed Toto Santos?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I couldn't find a picture of it in page 1 of Pat O'Connell big wave.
I'll dig through my archive of magazines today. I'll go into the garage, dig them out, and start searching for the 1994 through 2006 or so.
I really think that he hasn't, which also could be another show. Pat O'Connell surfs a big wave. Could be a whole nother. I mean, this is not a series, but it's. I mean, I guess it's a series, not a contest. But getting Pat O'Connell to surf big waves would be pretty fun. I mean, he's thinking Florence X Machine, Machine X, Marine X, John Florence. Like, they've got to be paddling to outer reefs all the time with Pat O just sitting on the shore.
Yes, just because they're friends and they work in the same company doesn't mean that they do every single thing together. So since we're pitching ideas for new shows, this one came from a listener. He did not call it in. He DM'd it in, I think. So I'm just going to read you the text. He said, I pitched this idea to Chaz on Instagram, and he said he liked it, but he was probably drunk or whatever, so he never followed up. This is the idea. You were going to do a show called The Ultimate Surfer, but there's no surfing, just fighting. No weight classes, men and women together, carnage. So, by the way, I'm going to take a break from the email. At this point in the email, I was like, God, this is so dumb. And then I continued reading and I thought, holy cow, this is epic. This is actually better than anything. So it goes on to say, men and women together, carnage. Seeing as how in surfing today, almost everybody is into Brazilian jiu-jitsu or some other martial art, it would make sense to see who the ultimate surfer really is. So the original idea was just fighting, but I've actually explored it some more. My new take on it is you could have as big of a roster of people as you want. Anyone willing to throw their hat in the ring gets a go. And the matches, and all matches are good. So you could have Kamalei Alexander choking out Tyler Wright. You could have Kelly Slater going up against Joel Tudor. Who wins? Who knows? And the top 16 advance to the final at Maxing Pipe, where they actually do surf. What could be better than that?
It's totally true. I remember reading this DM thinking this is a great idea at the time, where I don't know how the Ultimate Surfer, let's just be honest. Like, so now we know who won: Zeke Lau, which we already knew, and Tia Blanco, right?
Yep.
Who wants to see surfers surf? The Ultimate Surfer is about everything other than surfing, which, I mean, this guy hit right on the head.
Well, there was nothing, first of all, there was nothing ultimate in the surfing that existed in the basin, right? In the wave pool. But actually using the word ultimate appropriately is what this listener is doing. Like,
totally.
Like just go battle it out. Who's the ultimate person who happens to be a surfer? Like, surfer is just their identifying characteristic, but we're not finding out who the best surfer is through this. We're just going to find out who the ultimate person is. And then once we figure that out, then you guys go surf it out at Pipe. That's
the ultimate person. Who would you pick in the ideal draw here, from Kamalei Alexander to Kobe Aberton to like any list of ultimates? Who's your number one?
Fascinating. Some of those guys are past their prime now. You know, you would want to put Kyborg like as your top pick. Yeah. But I don't know. Kyborg, he's softened as he's gotten older, his new philosophy on life, and maybe not as athletic as a 23-year-old version of him was, you know? So I don't know who that 23-year-old version is now.
Is the 23-year-old version, does the 23-year-old version exist?
No, I don't know. Not to that degree that those guys did.
I mean, or are we just older? And so it's like these guys are who we grew up. I mean, is a 16-year-old terrified of some pipe enforcer who's 23 that we're just totally unaware of? So
full stop, those guys don't exist anymore. I'm pretty sure.
Don't think so?
Like, no, dude. We're raised from my generation onward. We're raised so much softer than those guys were. We weren't allowed to be macho or masculine. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of, it wasn't a celebrated trait like it was in previous generations. And there's so much consequence that comes with it now in terms of legal prosecution if you actually get in a fight, but then also utter shame for not being sympathetic towards your fellow man or woman. You know, like you'll get canceled for stuff.
Was there no legal ramifications back in the day?
I don't think there were. Or I mean, it was a rarity, and especially in somewhere like the North Shore. Where you were originally was good, as long as you didn't mind the.
Got me?
Okay, yeah, you're back.
Children. Yeah.
Yeah. So back in the day, legal ramifications were a lot more infrequent, and certainly in places like the North Shore, probably non-existent.
But doesn't that seem strange that this happened in our lifetime? Like,
it happened pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always doubtful when things like that happen. That really, come on, there must be some charger today who's really there, like breaking heads on the North Shore. But no, you're saying no. You're saying this is the same as Pat O'Connell's big wave.
I don't know because I'm not there, so I'm probably not the best person to answer the question, but I don't know of it existing. I mean, if it's existing, it's way on the fringe and it's not nearly as commonplace as it was back then. And even for like kids coming up from different countries, let's say, where there is less litigation, more machismo culture, they don't find acceptance on the world stage of surfing if they carry in those kind of that worldview, you know?
So there's got to be somebody in Brazil. There's got to be some like heavy enforcer bro in Brazil, a Brazilian Kyborg that's 23. He's
Probably
the ultimate surfer. I mean,
Yeah.
just like everything ultimate is Brazil now for surf, the ultimate surfer is also 23-year-old Brazilian Kyborg.
Could be. Is Zeke Lau the ultimate surfer in that paradigm?
Well, the thing with Zeke is, like, I would almost want to say yes. He's got the pedigree. He's got the physique.
Frozen.
He's got the wholeness. Sure, like holding. Let me find here. Sorry.
It's all right. So you're still in LA, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Arden. You got me?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay.
Trying to find my trophy.
Yeah, I got to do this. Okay.
There you go. So Zeke has what it takes.
Is him holding a trophy? Damn it. What about now?
Looks good now.
Okay. I saw him holding his trophy above his head, his Ultimate Surfer trophy, in such enthusiastic bliss that it made me think, no, we can't do it. He's not it. You would never catch a picture of like any one of those Wolfpack guys like giddily stoked, other than when Andy Irons won contests.
I mean, you wouldn't even catch him standing next to Eric Logan, you know?
Yeah. And so then I thought, okay, it ain't Zeke. He's like Ultimate Surfer light.
Yeah. He's the closest thing that we have to what we were talking about that exists in the mainstream, because he has the look of it. He's just not actually punishing dudes, you know?
And look at what a coincidence that he is actually the Ultimate Surfer too.
I know. How about that? Wow. Foot and mouth. So I actually watched the season finale last night. Have you watched any? Yeah. Have you watched any of the last few episodes?
Nope. I watched my 10 minutes and I'm out.
It's still not good, and we don't need to beat a dead horse in that respect. But I will say, the appropriate people actually won in terms of like the two best surfers actually won the show. It's a real close battle between Tia Blanco and Brianna Cope. I thought they surfed pretty much equally well.
You felt Brianna was the breakout star.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, if she won, she definitely would be, but maybe Tia is going to actually be the breakout star. I think Tia's already kind of a star anyways.
Tia's a star, but do you think Tia can actually surf at any level on the WSL?
So that was my next kind of question is, I'm not convinced that either of them will. Like Zeke Lau, I think he's a great surfer, clearly, but he's a bottom rung. He's not a world champ talent. So he's going to get back onto the seat, or he's going to get 3 wild cards. That's the way that this
did they announce the wild cards?
No, they didn't.
So it could be rando wild card. He could get a Brazilian wild card, any throwaway random wild card. It's not like you get 3 good waves.
I have no idea. Yeah, you could, in theory, get crappy ones. But I don't think Zeke is going to then storm the world tour at this point. If he ever even requalifies, he'll just be in that 18 to kind of 30 range, and never really do anything kind of meaningful on tour, as far as I'm concerned. Tia Blanco, I kind of feel the same way about. Like, she surfs good. I just don't think she has she's not world-class talent from what I could tell from watching her in the pool. And then she doesn't have the tenacity. She is an absolute sweetheart and adorable and all that sort of stuff. But I don't see her having the tenacity to actually take out other competitors, you know?
I mean, that's the problem with the, not again, I guess we're beating a dead horse here. The problem conceptually with the Ultimate Surfer was that nobody's, I don't think, like got passed by professional surfing who
Right, exactly.
who like, oh, you know, like fighting for sure. There's for sure fighters out there, right? Who
Yeah.
they don't have the means or the way in, and you throw them into a show and give them one shot and they can do it. Or maybe become something. Surfing, no. Like if you haven't been grinding pro juniors at 13, you're not, or 12 or 8 or whenever they start, you're not all of a sudden gonna like, oh, we didn't know this guy existed. This guy just didn't have a chance to get to a surf contest. But look at him. He's the best competitive surfer ever.
In that respect, the surfing world is actually really democratic, I think. Like if you are a great surfer in the world, the surf industry will give you a shot.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I think the problem or caveat with that is you basically have to be coastal, which means you have rich parents probably who are also giving you a shot. And then also if you're some poor inland kid, you're never going to learn how to surf at that level. I mean, there's the rare, I mean, you know, even Dane Reynolds, I think to some level came from, where'd he come from?
Bakersfield, maybe?
Bakersfield, that's it. Bakersfield. I don't think he started surfing till he was like 12 or something, right?
Yeah, correct.
Like, and so had like a preternatural talent that wasn't born from this kind of grow up in the water. But yeah, I mean, when I passed Seaside Reef, all those little kids out there just getting their grind on daily at like the youngest ages. I don't know how you break through that.
Yeah, I guess if you are a talented surfer somewhere in the world that is maybe doesn't have the economic opportunity that we have in Southern California, like Costa Rica, for example, Carlos Munoz in Costa Rica is developing kind of a world-class level of talent there. Enough pro surfers come in and surf that area and see that kid in the lineup to where they actually want to give him opportunities. And he got his opportunities. He got his shots in surfing. And, you know, for a various number of reasons, he's kind of squandered those opportunities. And he probably doesn't get the same opportunities that the kid from Encinitas gets, certainly, or as much forgiveness and grace and all that sort of stuff for when he fumbles along the way. But there is a certain democracy to it, like that doesn't exist in the UFC or in fighting, where you can just be an unbelievably good fighter in the middle of nowhere. But if you never actually go to tournaments, nobody will ever know you exist. With surfing, you don't have to go to the tournaments. The industry ends up coming and surfing your local spot eventually, and then they identify you, you know?
Yep. Good for surfing. Who would have ever thunk it?
Who knew? Yeah. There's a couple of blood feuds that were going on that I had in my show notes from last week, and I think we should hit those now. We've got Ian Cairns versus Lucy Small and Kamalei versus E-Foilers. Which would you like to attack first?
Let's go into Kamalei first, because this is, I mean, we have a modern or a up-to-date take on all this too.
Okay, good. So I'll let you bring me up to speed, but I'll set the table first. Kamalei posted an Instagram selfie video complaining about the E-Foilers off the coast of Hawaii, the billionaires that are foiling off the coast of the Nepali coast, essentially just to get the shot. And what he's complaining about is you guys are exploiting the beauty of this. Like, you're not invested in this. You're not a part of this community. You show up to get your shots. You blast them out on social media. And then, you know, 10 times as many tourists end up showing up in the coming years. So he said, E-Foilers drive up home prices here, and that ends up driving us out. And what are your thoughts on that? And then what's the update?
I mean, I think that, yes, like he's clearly taking a hypocritical position, right? Like Kamalei has posted endless photos, beautiful Kauai photos. But I think he's aware of his own, like, or in the video, he was clearly aware of his own thing. And yeah, I mean, I think he has a valid point, like that this sort of exploitation of this place is uncool. And the fact that it does harm actual people, local people, is lame, right? Like, which is, I think, a classic surf adage, sort of don't blow up the spot. Like, don't go stink and take pictures of yourself. If you actually love this place and love this thing, just leave it be. Like, which I still don't understand the Val instinct to photograph themselves or video themselves surfing nonstop. Like, you know, and then the ones who are rich enough to afford to do it in beautiful places like Kauai, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? What, like, when I go to Kauai, I tell people I go to Oahu because I don't want anybody to know that I'm in Kauai. Like, not in terms
you just did.
I mean, I'm not there and never go. I've never been. I think it's a terrible place. But Kauai, I mean, can't talk too much about Kauai, I suppose, but it is a special place that should not be blown up. And so I fully back Kamalei's whole thing. And if it scares any one person out of posting something, including Mark Zuckerberg, then great. Yeah,
I know. It's funny. There's a clear hypocrisy that you identified, and I'm fully okay with it. You know, it's like, if you overanalyze any of these social kind of political issues of Black Lives Matter and all the presidential election, everything that's been going on in the last 2 years, COVID, you know, becomes a political issue. When you overanalyze it, there's just so much minutia that you could pick apart. And I kind of understand this, sympathize with both sides. And I don't want to do any of that with this. I don't want to critically assess this. I just see beautiful land. Hey, you enforcers, protect it. Like, because I also trust the enforcers to not be indiscriminate. Like, there is a code of conduct and they don't have to explain it to me. We don't need it written down, a set of rules. I just know when I've gone to those places, Kauai specifically, I treat people with respect. I don't blast, you know, a bunch of the imagery out or like identify where I'm at when I'm surfing spots and all that sort of stuff. And I don't get harassed by those enforcers. And then I see the enforcers actually picking their battles, and I seem to agree with the battles that they pick. So I'm fully okay with this, hypocritical or not. We need enforcers. It doesn't necessarily apply to broad society. You can't just have these kind of rogue agents enforcing things in society at large. But in these little pockets like Kauai, it absolutely works. Localism works, and I think it's actually effective and it serves a purpose.
I mean, absolutely, completely. And anyone who goes to Kauai and treats, or any of the islands, to be anywhere, any of the special places on Earth, I suppose, like where you don't go in and drive 1,000,000 miles an hour. And
exactly.
Like, I mean, it is not your home. And
correct.
I think that Kamalei made that point sort of well. And I would just hope that it would stick with somebody. I don't know who it sticks with.
I don't know either. That's the problem. And even posting it on Instagram feels now kind of like, oh God, that's cheesy. You know, it's like you're actually doing kind of what you're talking about not doing. But if the other alternative is to paddle up to Mark Zuckerberg and punch him out to send the message, I don't know if that's actually going to send the message that broadly either, you know?
I mean, if somebody was willing to go to jail for a long time and or get totally tagged by Zuckerberg's security detail, that would probably send a pretty good message.
That'd be incredible, dude.
Yeah.
that would be such a folk hero. It'd be insane. So the one other thing that is worth discussing in this is that Hawaii was a sovereign nation that was overthrown, and Indigenous people have been systematically pushed out of their home by the exact same people who came to exploit them. And so there's a much deeper kind of vibe going on here when somebody like Zuckerberg shows up, buys however many acres, hundreds and hundreds of acres that he bought, and then excludes the local people from even traveling through his land to get to the beach and all that sort of stuff. It's got bad it's a pattern, like it's the
Do you
latest
think-
of a long pattern.
Do you think the Zuckerbergs of the world and or Zuckerberg himself ever actually has to face like what he's done in terms of like, does he ever face an angry local? Does he wake up in the morning and Google News himself or Facebook News or whatever they have himself and see, oh man, people are mad at me? Or no, is he just living? He thinks I bought a huge chunk of Kauai that I'm protecting because I'm ecological and we're going to be green on it and whatever, right? Or like, is he aware of any of that?
No, I don't think that he is aware of any of that. And I don't think that I think at his position, it's all a lot of yes people around you affirming your decisions and your beliefs. So I don't think that he's necessarily held accountable in the same way that we are. If you remember those Senate hearings, he seemed like a robot, firstly, but he wasn't really showing any emotion. But I don't think that he actually takes responsibility for the way that the platform is being used. The platform is being used in the way that it was designed, right? So
Sure.
He designed it, so he has responsibility for the way that it's being used. But when people are publishing videos of the genocide in Myanmar and using Facebook to actually have the live stream of the genocide, he has responsibility in that. They're using the platform in the way it was designed to be used. You know what I mean? So there is culpability there, but his taking zero culpability, zero responsibility. And I'm only speaking from those Senate hearings. He was taking zero responsibility for all of that stuff. It makes me kind of think that he can justify, he can kind of do the mental gymnastics to justify how things happen and why they happen because his heart was in the right place from the get-go, maybe. But I don't think that, I don't know. I think he justifies it to himself just because he doesn't have accountability partners holding him.
There was a New York Times story over the weekend that exposed Facebook has Project Amplify, which is Facebook's aware of its negative, publicity, negative image, I think, in the world. And so is trying to fix it by amplifying positive Facebook or stories that are positive about Facebook on the platform. And then also some of the people are writing them. And apparently the video of Mark Zuckerberg foiling over the 4th of July holding the flag was part of Project Amplify or
oh my God,
included in there. And so Zuckerberg responded to it. And I'm sure he was joking. I don't he's such a robot that his jokes are hard to discern, but was mad that that image was considered e-foiling, where I was pumping the board with my own legs. Was his quote.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Completely clueless.
I mean, where I think he's just like to say, I think he must have been trying to make light of the whole thing of like, say what you want about my company. I think, but don't attack my foiling.
Amazing.
Yep. That's what he thought was the appropriate time for either that truth or that joke.
Hilarious.
Amplified.
Completely clueless.
I mean, really ridiculous.
All right, so we're on the side of protect Kauai and stop talking about Kauai and stop shooting photos at Kauai.
And stop also shooting photos of yourself surfing ever. Everyone, just stop. Like, nobody needs to have a surf shot anymore. We should do a moratorium on surf shots forever. I mean, for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. A 2-week blackout. Just don't shoot yourself surfing. Nobody needs to see it. Nobody needs to see it, literally. Do you need to see it? Who do you? Nine
times out of 10, no.
I need to see John Brooks, the Florida Surf Film Festival. That dude rips and charges. There's the rando friend you have who's not a pro, who rips and charges. I need to see that guy. If you're not properly ripping and charging, then don't do it.
And certainly a photo don't do, but certainly don't post the Surfline rewind footage either. The grainy Surfline rewind footage that's pulled back 400 yards, 700 yards. It's super
of a carving 360.
Yeah, Ron. Okay, so Ian Cairns versus Lucy Small.
Yeah.
This was a bizarre one to me.
It's one that like oddly, I think it's in our day and age of where these clashes are fun, where blood feuds are fun and all this. This one was uglier to me because
Yeah,
Ian and Lucy are on the same side here.
I
And
know.
they're like, Ian is a full dinosaur, yes, and like speaks, you know, brashly or whatever. Like he's old. Ian is old, came from a different era, but is like I think Ian has a heart of gold and Lucy's trying to do awesome stuff too. And so them getting into a battle when they're each other's best ally in so many ways. So it was just frustrating to me.
Great
That one.
take. I agree with you. So Lucy Small, we knew, kind of came into my awareness 6 months ago or 8 months ago when she won a surf contest. I think it was at Noosa, and she was paid less than her male counterpart who won the contest. And she, when she was called on stage to accept the award, she mentioned that. And she was actually pretty gracious, I thought, in that she like said, hey, thanks for everybody for being involved. Thanks to the sponsors. But I think it is worth noting that my paycheck is, half of the men's paycheck or whatever. Thanks again, and put the mic down and walked away. So it wasn't aggressive or anything like that. But anyways, that was my first awareness of Lucy. So this incident was, she posted a video. Ian Cairns direct messaged her own video with the caption. The paragraph said, this photo and comment is offensive to me. Fuck you and your condescending attitude. You don't know me. I'm a longtime supporter of women surfing, you fool. You need goodwill from people like me. So that was pretty aggressive. So I didn't ever get to see, because I came into the story late, I didn't get to see the video that Lucy had posted that Ian was offended by, but he was offended by it, and he took it to 60 instantly with Lucy and cussed at her and attacked her essentially. And Lucy said, turns out I do know who you are, Ian, and I'll be posting. So she screenshotted the conversation and posted it in her Instagram stories. Do you know what the original video was?
I think it was a meme of, it was a dude getting hanged, like a white man getting hanged. But I think it's a meme. I didn't really understand as these things are, like memetics or whatever is actually a language now. And clearly Ian doesn't speak it. And so, yeah, so whatever it was, I don't think Lucy meant it like violently or whatever, like let's hang white men. That's clearly how Ian took it, I think, like wrongly. And so, got angry. But Lucy should extend some grace, I feel, or should have extended some grace to Ian. Like, okay, I get it. That if that image was offensive, you don't need to come at me all mad. Like, I'll still post it. But
right.
Yeah, like your response is unnecessary. But I also understand you, and I hear you, right? Like everybody wants to be heard always, perpetually. Like, please hear me, except nobody listens to each other. And especially it's easy to dismiss a, old Ian Cairns, I think. Like, here's this old man yelling at me, old white man, privileged white man yelling at me, but she didn't hear what he was saying, where I thought what he was saying was like meaningful and true. Like he was offended. Okay, to take that. Everybody's allowed to be offended now, but except for him.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think you're totally right. They're both on the same page. He does care. He is a longtime proponent of women surfing. His wife still rips, by the way. But number one, who cares if you're offended, Ian? You know what I mean? Like, unfollow and move on. You don't need to direct message the person that you're offended by and then cuss them out, telling them that you're offended, as if that person would even care.
But it's sort of the great part about Ian, right? Is that he does things like that. Like that's what makes Ian Ian. So for Ian not to do that is asking for, like, Ian, I think, is such a great surf character. Like he's such a beautiful part, I feel, of surfing history. And maybe many would disagree with me. I'm sure that lots of people listening have had bad run-ins with Ian. Like, I know that he doesn't probably have the greatest reputation, but like, to me, he is surf essential.
Yeah. Well, the one part that I think he got really wrong in his message was he said, you need goodwill from people like me,
Sure.
which I think is totally wrong-headed and entitled, by the way. I don't think Lucy needs any goodwill from Ian, or I'm not sure what he means by people like me. I think Lucy can absolutely do things her own way to the beat of her own drum. She doesn't need his acknowledgement. Him thinking that he's a gatekeeper and that he needs to like bestow goodwill on the things that should exist and shouldn't exist, I think is wrong-headed.
But I also think that Ian has actually done a ton of work that you and I can jibber jabber about it all day long, right? Ian, I think, has done hard yards of setting up contests, like, really trying to push women's surfing out and up. And so, yeah, like it's the classic, and I'm sure Lucy could think it, like, I don't need an old white man, helping me out. Like, I got this, I'm cool. Well, but I think Ian has done hard yards.
That gives him a lot of credibility, but she doesn't need him. Like, yes, everything that you said is true. And he did tons of good work at various phases in surfing, but that doesn't mean that he gets to be a gatekeeper on all the other types of surfing that exists. Sure, I've had a podcast for 8 years in the surf space, but if somebody else does a podcast in the surf space, I don't get to tell them what to do just because I've done this for longer than them and made inroads. You know what I mean?
For sure. But I just thought, like, I suppose that Lucy should have taken a breath and actually gone back and forth with Ian privately, because I think they could have come to some great, I don't know, friendship. Like the Ian
Alliance.
I know. Yeah, you go back and forth with them, right? Instead of taking, I saw Lucy's thing as sort of showboating that was unnecessary. Like,
agreed.
Ian actually is, of course, she doesn't need his goodwill, all that stuff, but he actually is an ally, and she should have hammered it out with him privately, and greater good could have been done than sort of the flame. I'm an expert in the bright burst of a blood feud, right? Like the excuse me, the one moment that it pops up, but then it's done. Like nothing good or bad will come of this exchange. There will be no, people got to talk about it for a minute. That's it, right? Yeah. Where she could have actually done some work with Ian, and maybe she still can.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, and I felt like you mentioned at the beginning, that it was uglier than it needed to be. I'm curious, from an optics standpoint, does this reflect on the WSL? Like, given that Ian is what you said, he is kind of a forefather of professional surfing and one of the founders. So just from an optics standpoint, if you step back, it's like this person who is a founder is kind of still representing or associated with this entity, and his worldviews are a little dated, let's say.
I mean, talk about hypocrisy. It shows the vast hypocrisy of the World Surf League, I think, to claim that it was founded in 1976, but then also they don't really ever bring Ian or these guys, like, they don't list him as a founder on the thing, right? Where they should. Like, if you're going to claim you were founded in 1976, then you should actually have the lineage very clear and celebrate Ian and things like this. Like, they don't do anything, right? They don't. I mean, it is founded in 1976 by Dirk Ziff and Eric Logan.
Yeah, I don't know. They have, people come in to commentate. Sean Thompson come in to commentate, at the Lowers event or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their responsibility is in that respect.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to be associated.
If you're going to claim you were founded in 76, you better then honor the actual founders of professional surfing. And I don't know that Ian doesn't feel honored, but it doesn't seem like he's ever honored. It doesn't seem like it's literally 76, Dirk Ziff, 1976. This is when Dirk Ziff birthed surfing, professional surfing, into the world, when Dirk Ziff was hiding outside of what was the hotel called back in the Bustin' the Door days?
I forget.
Well, it wasn't the
I totally forget. I think Dave Prodan did a podcast with Ian, though. If they, in terms of honoring, that's the extent of honoring. Do you want to hear? Okay, so talk about culpability. We got a complaint from a listener. If you would like to hear it,
Let's go.
all right. Let me see if I can pop this up.
Hey, David Lee Scales and Chad Smith. This is James from San Francisco, following up on the surf cam topic I had brought up, and that was brought up on your show. So I took that advice of, screw the cams, not going to look at it today, didn't even check, and pulled up to the beach and said, oh, shit, it's actually double overhead and pumping when the charts were saying 5 to 6 foot. So I was severely undergunned and still went out, managed to pick off a couple, but, maybe the cams do have a point. I don't know. Let's have the listeners decide.
So we talked him out of looking at surf cams, and then he was undergunned.
Well, guess what? I bet those waves he had undergunned were really, really fun.
We are faultless in our advice, blameless in our advice always.
Never a bad word spoken here. But seriously, like the last couple days, I've surfed now 3 whole days in a row, not counting today. Just rock down. Hemingway, discovered surfing, loves to go, loves to paddle out. Just go. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, sorry. Like, I didn't begin to look at Surfline. It was so fun out there. It was like, I would have never, if I would have seen it on a cam, I would have never gone. It looked totally flat, but there was these weird little nuggets popping up, right?
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. The joy of surfing is robbed by cameras still. And this bro should have a step up in your car. If you're going to go surf, have a damn step up in your car.
That was going to be my advice, is bring 2 boards. Like I told you, I call the surf report rather than looking at the cams. And based on what it says, I'll generally bring at least 2 boards, And so, but I agree. The sentiment or the philosophy behind this argument for me is that keep expectations low. So once you start checking the cams, you're like, okay, there's one that's good enough for me to go, or whatever. You just start setting these expectations and you're inevitably going to fall short of them. So what a wonderful thing to show up to the beach thinking it's going to be 5 feet, like he said, and then it turns out to be double. You're like, oh my God, that's amazing. So now you're just going to enjoy no matter what, because you're expecting something less. And
also kick yourself for nobody has a car small enough for one surfboard only, unless he was driving a motor scooter to the beach. He has no excuse.
I've been getting messages from people because we were telling them never to put your boards on a board rack. So I've gotten a number of messages of boards crammed in the car. Good. And then it's just like a complete nightmare, full chaos in the car, but they're just like so proud to share it,
Where they belong. Boards belong inside with the family.
Exactly. All right, Chaz, I think we should go to commercial break and then come back with Barrel or Nah.
Let's do it.
All right, we are back.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be back in person, to be honest.
All right, next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this week, we didn't say at the top of the show, it's kind of my fault, but I guess if you're in LA, it's equal, both of our faults.
Yeah. It's equal.
Tough scheduling. Dude, so here's what people don't know. Meeting you in San Clemente, we record, let's say 90 minutes. That's not 90 minutes out of my day. That is 5 hours out of my day. It is really the day. It is, we got to be there at 10 o'clock. It's a 45-minute drive for each of us. So it cuts, my complete morning is gone. And then the 45-minute drive back means I'm not home until 1 oftentimes, because I've got to do some uploading and stuff while I'm there. So it's a big commitment.
It's a huge commitment that we do for the people.
Exactly. There you go. I'm just going to keep asking you every week. Did you watch the Val doc yet?
I haven't yet, but it's still, I get to move back to the TV. So yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll revisit that next week again.
Yep.
Barrel or Nah. I was called out this week. The listeners want to know. Barrel or Nah, posting birthday posts on Instagram of your partner.
Yes, I'm going to say Beryl. I'm going to say I am not a personal Instagrammer. I don't have lots of photos of family, but I think there is certain occasions that you're doing it for the loved one, right? Like, and it just is what it is, people. Like, you may dislike it, you may not want to do it, but you do it for them. It is a show of love for your partner. It's not a brag. It is not a look at me. It is not anything to do with any kind of vanity. I think when you do that, it just is what you're supposed to do.
Shout it from the mountaintop.
Yep. Like it or not, I don't like to do it. It doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy to put anything personal on Instagram, but
yeah,
it's what is expected and is the right thing to do.
I did it a day late.
Did you get busted?
I told her the day of, I was like, well, first of all, we had a full weekend celebration. So like there was no concern from her whether or not I love her. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
She fully got the full embrace. But the day of, her family's posting all this stuff about her. And I was like, I told her, I go, hey, the photos I have of you, they're too intimate to post, you know, and they're not nudes or anything like that. It's just of us, like private life, you know? Yeah. Not us posing together, essentially is. And so she's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, so I don't think I'm going to post anything about, like, I don't have any photos to post because I don't want to reveal some of these kind of more private moments, you know? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't give a crap. And then I woke up in the morning and I realized I had a video on my phone that was post worthy. So I posted that and then I got called out by listeners. So,
but I think like listeners, just take one on the chin and do it. You do it for your loved one.
I also wonder, like, there's a privacy concern. One of the most commonly asked questions when you're logging onto a site, and it's a security question, is your birth date. So if you post your birth date on social media, and then maybe the hackers can find your address pretty easily. They can find your mom's maiden name pretty easily. Maybe you posted your dog's name on Instagram, and so that's a security question. You can nail 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 of those security questions and hack into people's stuff.
Thanks, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, seriously. So my point is posting your wife's birthday a day late, a week late is probably savvy.
Is a smart move. But again, never post your own birthday, but post your loved ones.
Okay, got it. Barrel or nah, allowing your children to curse.
Oh, barrel. Okay, this is a mixed one. This is a mixed one for me. Like, not stigmatizing it early, I think is good. Like, where who cares? Who cares about these words? But then I will say, when I hear cursing children, it really drives me crazy. Like, I was at a Panda Express the other day, a couple months ago probably, sitting there enjoying my Panda Express, and there was like a table full of 11, 12-year-olds just cursing like sailors, like little skatey North County kids. And I wanted to go wash each and every one of their mouths out with soap. So I'm going to say, nah, I guess.
I'm going nah, and I don't even know why. It falls into the same category as adult men wearing shorts in public, where it's just kind of undignified, you know, like have some dignity. Like, I don't know what the rules are. I don't know why they're that way, but they are. And we have nothing without this kind of decorum or civilized society. We are blessed to live in a civilized society. And a lot of these progress that we made doesn't serve a hunter and gatherer purpose, but that's what makes us civilized, is that now we are able to make these kind of more, I don't know, enlightened decisions, and choosing your vocabulary wisely and having some thoughtfulness put into it and all that sort of stuff is part of that. And yeah, there's something just ugly about
it's gross, especially publicly. Like, for me as a father, like, I would laugh. I mean, bad words were funny for me around the daughter early. But she never picked up, like, she feels very uncomfortable saying bad words, and as she should. We all should.
I agree. It's almost embedded in her DNA. Like, she just instinctively knows good versus bad, right versus wrong, and then also as it relates to words. There's good words and there's bad words. She just
it
knows.
Doesn't feel good.
Doesn't.
No cursing.
Okay.
No barrel.
All right, no barrel. Barrel or not, CJ Hobgood just posted a video. Our beloved CJ just posted a video putting a front traction pad on his surfboard and said, "So long to wax. Never going to need you again." Barrel or not, front traction.
I think we have discussed this before. CJ, full barrel. CJ surfs good enough to front traction. Was he putting octopus on? What front traction was he putting?
I can't say. I don't remember.
Okay, but CJ Hobgood, barrel. You and me, no barrel. The listener, likely no barrel.
What's the difference?
If you rip and can do a big ol' air, front traction all day long.
You have to be doing an air.
Yeah, if you surf good, have fun, don't do front traction.
His caption, yes, it was an octopus pad, and his caption was actually way better than what I said. He said, "Never again will I associate with a waxer."
Oh yeah, I mean, good. CJ, yes. If you surf as good or in the vicinity of CJ Hobgood, front traction all day long, but you better stink and rip.
Okay, there you go. From the mouth of Chaz.
Yep, I'm not doing front traction. All to say.
All right. Well, hey, enjoy your day in LA. Thanks for taking the time away from the kids to do this. And I look forward to seeing you this weekend at the Boardroom Show.
Can't wait, on Saturday.
Okay. Saturday, not Sunday, just Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be Sunday probably too.
Okay. Sweet. Come by both days. I'll be there.
Awesome.
And I guess that is all we have for today, Chaz. Until next week.
Yeah, barrel.